Let me,
For Slip Around the Bus, Small Business Owner Coaching, and today we are at VANG Virtual Area Networking Group, and Nancy Delain is our featured spotlight speaker. And before we start, Nancy, and of course they're blowing the leaves right now, right outside my window. Something about you we wouldn't know by visiting your Facebook page or your LinkedIn profile that maybe is a little embarrassing, a little humorous, a little something.
something you wouldn't know by visiting my Facebook page. That's kind of hard because I put a lot of my life on Facebook. But I can tell you that one thing that's not on Facebook is the fact that I was a New York State lifeguard all the way through college.
Wow. Where?
Moreau Lake State Park.
Where's that? Upstate?
Yeah, it's Moreau Lake is the next lake south of Lake George.
Wow, that's kind of cool. So you're from upstate New York. You're born and raised up there?
No. Honey child, I was born in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
And I can do the accent anytime because, hey, guess what? I grew up with this accent all around me. And I was fortunate enough to have parents who didn't actually talk that way. So although the accent was all around me, I developed the upstate New York twang because my mother's from Syracuse.
Okay. All
So
right. To talk, where'd you go to law school and what interests you in being a lawyer?
I'm going to reverse those two things.
Sure.
Uh, I have a master's degree in technical writing. Got that not quite right out of college, but way closer to right out of college than I went to law school. And I had a 20-year stint as a technical writer before I went to law school. One of my gigs as a tech writer was as the computer science acquisitions editor for a publisher called Springer Verlag New York. And Springer Verlag New York is based in Heidelberg, West Germany. It was West Germany at the time. And they are publishers of postgraduate level scientific books and monographs. This was back in the early 1980s. Remember when floppy disks were actually floppy? You could bend them.
Mhm.
They bent. You could fold them. You could destroy them by folding them. Well, you could also take a full floppy disk and put it into your drive A. An empty floppy disk, put it into drive B, write copy A colon B colon, and it did just that. I was the computer science editor. We were putting out a book that had a software component. We did not want people doing that. So it was up to me to work with the copyright lawyer we hired, figuring that it's software. We don't know how it's protected. It might be patent, but we're going to go with copyright because it looks and feels like a work of authorship. So maybe it's copyright. We don't know. And we put together the killer copyright statement. And I had fun doing that. It was a lot of fun. And then in the early 1980s, again, I saw the check we wrote her, and it had 5 figures in it. And I was sitting there going, damn, I'm in the wrong business. And that was the impetus for intellectual property. The impetus for law school probably came from the fact that my father and his student cohorts in his PhD program when I was 3 years old would watch Perry Mason every Sunday night.
Okay.
So that was my introduction to being a lawyer.
All right. So
Um,
why don't you dazzle us for about 10 minutes and tell us what should be copywritten, how to do it, and all of that kind of stuff, and leave time for short questions and short answers. And Deborah,
uh,
we'll introduce you after that and just go with the flow here. But welcome. Thank
yeah,
you for being here. Go
uh,
ahead.
I'm going to share my screen if I may. Let's
Yep.
see. Share my screen. Share desktop two. I'll share desktop too. You folks are going to see yourselves for just a minute here. And actually
Nope.
no, you see my Zoom thing. And you see the fact that I cheat. There we go. Okay. So now we go to the PowerPoint, we go file,
We see it.
play from start. Now you should see something that says copyright.
We do.
Okay. Okay, so what is a copyright? Let's talk first about the copyright. This talk applies strictly to the United States. Every country has its own set of copyright laws. I'm a US lawyer. I deal with US law. So in order to be on the same page, let's talk about what a copyright is. Next, we'll figure out just how it can work with you and to protect you and actually become a profit center for you and your business, regardless of what that business may be. And finally, we'll go through a high level view of what you need to register your copyright and why you should bother to do that. So what is a copyright? Well, in the United States, it is a constitutionally guaranteed bundle of rights. I mean, this thing is protected in the body of the United States Constitution. It is not stuck off in an amendment like free speech is, okay? Body of the Constitution. And it gives authors exclusive rights, okay? And these exclusive rights are things like reproduce the copyrighted work, prepare derivative works, distribute copies of the copyrighted work to the public by sale or other transfer, rental, leasing, or lending, publicly perform the work and display the work. And you can find all these exclusive rights if you're really a nerd like I am. You can find all these things listed in the United States Code at Title 17, Section 106. Okay, however, these exclusive rights are not unlimited. Okay, fair use comes into play. It's a thing. I don't go into fair use in this talk because fair use is a 5-day seminar in and of itself, but it's usually safest to think about fair use. And if you're thinking, hey, it's fair use, it probably isn't. Okay, that's really the safest thing. Fair use is a really gray area. Libraries and archives can make copies of things. If you transfer a particular, if you go out and you buy a copy of Chris Lipper's big book, okay, you buy a copy of it and then you hand it to a friend and you say, here, read this. You can absolutely do that. That's not an infringement of Chris's copyright. Okay. Secondary transmissions are okay. Ephemeral recordings are okay. Things that you have to record and then it goes away. Okay. There is no such actual thing as international copyright because every country has its own laws. There are, however, treaties in place that allow you to enforce one country's copyright in another country, but when both of them have signed the treaty. Okay. In the United States, copyright is exclusively federal, and states do not have copyright laws. A copyright infringement case, if you take somebody to court, you're going to federal court. It is by definition a federal case. Okay. There we go. So, did you know that you are an author? If you've ever written anything, I don't care what it is. It might be a grammar school essay. You are an author. In your business, you're almost certainly an author. You produce marketing collateral. You produce talks like this one. You do all kinds of things that are works of authorship. Okay, and as an author, you have copyright in your work, and copyright does have teeth. Okay, I know it's really easy to copy and paste stuff off the internet. It's really easy to do that. But if you do that, then technically you're infringing that author's copyright. Okay, and that copyright does have teeth. Copyright infringement is, if somebody can prove it, then you are liable for anywhere between $750 to $30,000 per infringing act. And if they can prove you did it willfully, you treble that and you add in attorney's fees. Copyright has teeth. Okay, copyright is also profitable. Once upon a time, there was a lady. She lived in Scotland, I believe. Maybe England, maybe North England. I think she lived in Scotland. And she was a single mom and she was poor as a church. I mean, she was literally on her beam's end. She had a daughter that she could barely afford her rent. And one day this little boy walks into her head, sits down and stays there. So she picked up a pen. She was a writer, so she picked up a pen and she wrote about this little boy. And thus Harry Potter was born. Harry Potter is a product of copyright. J.K. Rowling became wealthy because of copyright. It is a very profitable thing. It's also the easiest of all the pieces of intellectual property to register. Literally, you go online, you fill out a form, you submit 2 copies, and you pay the copyright office somewhere in the order of 65 or 75 bucks. I forget what it is these days. And your copyright is registered. They send you a certificate. Let's see. Okay, so why should you do this? Well, first, you know, I mentioned to you that copyright has teeth. You can't use those teeth unless you've registered, because the courts will throw out your case without that registration certificate in your hand. They simply won't hear. They simply will not hear the case. If you want to enforce your copyright, you must register it. So how do you do it? Well, you visit copyright.gov. Not any other, not some other place that says we'll get your copyright. We'll register you with the Movie Writers Guild of America. No, wrong. Copyright.gov. That's where you go, because that is the only place that has the power to actually register your copyright in the United States. You form an account, you form an account with copyright.gov. It's free to do that. And it's just come up with a username and a password and you've got an account. And then you figure out what your work of authorship actually is. You figure out all of the little parameters that go around your work of authorship, and they send you through about 10 or 12 screens. And if you have not published yet, then you upload a copy. If you have published, you send them 2 published copies, and there's your copyright registration. You'll get a certificate in the mail a few months later. So that's the high-end version of how to register a copyright.
Okay.
People are always saying to me, I want a trademark. And I say, trademark's going to cost you a lot more than $65. And they say, oh, can I protect it through copyright? Well, if you're talking about a logo and you're protecting it as a work of art, sure, you can protect your logo through copyright, but it does not protect your trademark rights. Trademark rights and copyrights are entirely different things. Copyright protects the work of authorship as a work of authorship. It does not protect the business goodwill that goes into what you do with a logo. That's trademark. Okay, you can't substitute copyright for trademark any more than you substitute trademark for copyright. So what have we talked about? We've talked about what copyright is. We've talked about how it can help you in your business. We've talked a little bit about enforcement with infringement. I have emphasized the fact that you have to go to the U.S. Copyright Office at copyright.gov in order to protect your copyright. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions, but are we at the end?
We are at the end.
Okay. So we know that books and lyrics are copyrightable, but what about, let's say, formulas, recipes, a code, that kind of stuff?
Computer code is copyrightable. Formulas and recipes, not so much, because
Why?
what you're doing with the copyright is you're claiming it as your own. Okay, and if you come up with the formula of burning hydrogen together with oxygen and coming up with water, that's what it does.
But what if you discover a
can't take
new
that out of
kind of,
you can't take that out of the system. Okay, that's how you make water.
but
If you come up with a very clever new recipe, then maybe, yeah, you can copyright it. You might do better to think about trade secret protection for that, however.
all right. So are you going to give a talk someday on trade secret?
Sure.
So like if somebody came up with the latest and greatest vegan pork chop, right? So I would advise them, well, let's get a great name and trademark the name. But the recipe and the formula, you're saying that's better.
That's the secret sauce. That's probably better off protected as a trade secret, because a trade secret will last forever, as long as you keep your mouth shut.
You know, I geek out on the History Channel. I watch it every Sunday night. I'll turn off football to watch it because they have these amazing shows on entrepreneurs, and they do a whole series on food. And Coca-Cola, is based on a trade secret and a trademark, and that's
Yes,
it.
that's it. That is the entire, well, not the entire, but that is the basis of that company's intellectual property. And with that trade secret has been in a vault for however many years, over 100. And
Apparently, there's 7 people that know
there's
what it
7
is,
people
and
and they can't travel together.
that's right. They're not allowed to travel together. That's exactly right. Amazing. All right. Any other questions out there?
I have a couple.
Go ahead, please.
So I appreciate you busting the myth because I was always told all you had to do was mail something to yourself and that was proof of copyright. And I'm hearing that that is not true.
That is
So that was,
absolutely totally ineffective.
yeah, that was eye-opening. The other question I have is, what if I take a piece of copy and put it into Chat GPT and it rewrites it? Now what happens?
That's a really good question, and nobody really quite knows the answer to that yet, because the lines are getting fuzzy. Right now, copyright can only be held by a human being. Okay, but ChatGPT, where do you draw the lines? Okay, ChatGPT was programmed by human beings. Therefore, does the copyright exist in those human beings, or does it exist in you? Or maybe ChatGPT is being upgraded and it's learning and it's slowly becoming sentient. Well, what happens if it does become sentient? Does it develop the rights that human beings have? We don't know yet. Stay tuned on that one.
So
That's going to be
Vicky,
a really fun piece of law.
Vicky, I know you have other questions, but I want to jump in and answer that one also on the mailing thing. So that was for trademarks, not for copyright. And the way we
Oh, it
used
was
to
for
do,
all of them, Chris. Poor man's patent, poor man's trademark, poor man's copyright.
hold on, easy.
Sorry.
So the way we used to do that is you would mail a letter from Maine to San Diego to Alaska to Key West, let's say. And the states that it flew over, because you had a seal, a federal stamp and date, those were considered okay as use to show a date of use for the trademark. I don't know now with email if you cover all those states. I assume you do. They figure, but the idea, what a TM does is it's a date of use. That's what you're establishing, right, Nancy?
I don't know that that was quite her question, but
No, but she meant, I think she added almost, because she was saying copyright, it was really trademarks with the mail thing.
Yeah.
well, it's all of them. That's what I was saying. There's a poor man's patent. You mail a copy of your invention to yourself, and assume that establishes the date. You mail a trademark. Well, trademark. Yeah, you have to establish the date of use, but it has to be public use, and mailing it to yourself is not public use. It never has been.
So the History Channel this weekend did a part on the television and how it was created. And there were 2 companies and they kept stealing it from each other. And this guy, his name was Fromberg or something with an F. And it was his high school science teacher he presented it to. And so he's going against like NBC and RCA, all these companies. And they went back and found the retired teacher who had the notebook up in his attic, and he won. And because he could show the drawings from when he was a kid.
He could show that he was first to invent. That's
Yep.
patent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just fascinating stuff. But anyway. All right. You had other questions, Vicky. I'm sorry.
No, actually, I love the conversation because as a professional speaker and an author, I was told a lot differently than what I just heard. And I typically, on any documents that I'm giving away, like at a workshop or whatever, I'll put at the bottom registered trademark, so R, and all
Or in a
rights reserved
circle
by.
is not a registered trademark
No.
until it is. Copyright
Okay.
can be in a circle. That
All right.
you can get away with that, but an R in a circle, that's special.
Okay, so even if I put on there all rights reserved at the
All rights
bottom,
reserved, that's copyright.
okay,
Trademark is your name. It's your good name in business, your logo. If you look at your screen, you'll see 2 trademarks sitting there in front of you. One of them is up on the top. It says "Nurture Your Mind, Child." R in a circle, and the other one is that brain with an R in a circle next to it, because both
Okay.
of those are my registered trademarks. I've gone
Got
through
it.
I've gone through the vetting process, gotten them. They belong to me. I've got the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has issued them as registered marks.
Nancy, I have a copyright question. What's the timeline? What's the lifespan of a copyright?
Copyright lasts for the life of the author plus 95 years. If it's a corporate copyright, then it lasts 120 years from the date of creation.
Wow. So patent
Copyright
only
is
lasts
not
20 years.
renewable. But who wants to renew it after after the life of the author plus 95 years, you know? I mean, I know Disney wants to, but no, they can't.
All right. Any other questions, Vicky?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I recommend
Interesting,
a
very
one-to-one.
interesting.
I recommend a one-to-one with Nancy, and you should certainly be using the copyright language on the bottom of your giveaways, not the circle R. That's a big
Okay.
no-no. You could get yourself in trouble like that.
All right. Good to know.
All right, very good. Nancy, thank you. That was pretty wonderful. That's it. We're
My
good. No more
pleasure.
questions? All right, good job. I'll stop recording.